This is our first class in our YouTube channel. Today we are going to take the class about business studies +1 business studies first chapter, business, trade and commerce. Business is the term, means busy. Business means is the purchase and sale of goods and services for making profit. In simple term, in simple definition, we can say it's purchase and sale of goods and services for making profit. In every society, people want to satisfy their wants, so they engage in activities to satisfy their wants. These activities can be classified into two: economic and non-economic activities. Economic activities means the activities which are doing this for the making, they expect in return money. That is the activities which are doing for making in the intention of making profit or money is economic activities. Example for that, running restaurant or bakery or grocery shop, all these are examples for the economic activities. Then another one is non-economic activities, which means the activities which are doing not for the intention of making any expectation of money. That is non-economic activities. That is mother cooking food in a house or a trust and all. This is an example for non-economic activities. So now we take the topic that definition of business and the activities which are classified into two: economic and non-economic activities. We are going to study about the features of business. The first feature of business is an economic activity. We already said that business is an economic activity, that is which engaged in the activities for expecting a return of money. That is, business is an economic activity. Second feature is that is procurement and production of goods and services. Procure raw materials and production of these raw materials with the intention of distribution. Then sale of this is a third feature, is the sale of these finished goods. Then sale of these finished goods, that is it will be engaged in for a continuous, that is regular basis only, it will be considered as a business. So procurement, production and distribution of goods and services on a regular basis is another feature of the business. Then business is always the intention of making profit. Then business is a full of risk. It is a risky element. Business is full of risk, that the risk will be converted into return. Then it is always uncertain. Business is uncertain, that is we cannot predict the result in future. Without that is we cannot there is no certainty in the business return. This is another feature of the business. About what are the features of business? It's an economic activity, procurement, production of goods and services and sale of goods and services in a regular basis. Then it is a risky element is there, it is uncertain, and the business is doing for making profit. These are the features of business. Then we are going to discuss about the difference between business, profession and employment. These three are totally different. Business, we already discussed that business is the production and purchase and sale of goods and services for making profit. But profession is not like that. Profession is an expertise service. Then employment, in the same manner as employment is that it requires a certain qualification, and it is a contract between employer and the employee, and the employees carrying their activities under the directions given by the employer. This is one difference between business, profession and employer. That is another difference is that huge investment is needed in business. Otherwise, that is an investment is needed in business, but little investment is required for profession. There is no requirement of investment in employment. Then third difference is that business intention of the business is to make a profit, but in profession their return is fees. Then in employment the return is salary or wages. Then another difference is that business is high risk. Business involves high risk. There is little bit of risk in profession. there is no such risk in employment. Then liability of the business is that unlimited liability for the business, but there is limited and there is no such a liability in employment. Only the employee can do their work according to the instructions given by the employer. Then another difference of the business profession and employment is that risk factor. Then other than example for business, that is running a grocery shop, running hotel, all these are examples for business. But in profession, doctor, lawyer, teachers are the examples for profession. But it's an employment, that is a clerk or accountant working in an office and all are examples for employment. These are the difference between business, profession and employment. Okay. Another important topic in this chapter is the classification of business. Business is classified into two, that is industry and commerce. Then industry is again classified into three, primary, secondary and tertiary. Primary sector means that is extraction of natural resources for the making profit. That is business, that's extraction of primary industry is the extractive industries. Extractive means natural resources we are extracting from the earth. That is mining, coring and all. That also petroleum, natural gas are extracted from the underground of the earth and used for commercial purposes. These are the primary industry. Primary industry means extractive and generate the natural resources which are engage the activities for making commercial purposes. That is business activities. That is primary sector. Then another one, secondary sector. In this secondary sector, they processed all these natural resources or otherwise these commercial activities, they will be processed into another manner than used for commercial purposes. Secondary sector. Secondary sector is classified as a manufacturing and construction. Manufacturing means product. In secondary sector, that is manufacturing and construction. Manufacturing means production of these resources processed into another manner and used for commercial purposes. That is, the steps in manufacturing is analytical, synthesis, processing and assembly. That is, analyze these different resources, analyze the different resources, then synthesize and combine into the process, then again processing, then assembly. And that assembling is the final, converted into final product. That is manufacturing, steps in manufacturing. That is secondary sector. One of the classification is manufacturing, then another one is construction. We know that construction of building, construction of dam, construction of bridge and all these in these activities we convert various types of bricks, soil, cement is converted into another manner, that is in a useful manner and is used for commercial activities. That is a classification of secondary sector, manufacturing and the construction. Then in tertiary sector, third one, in all these activities, business have to require various help. That is the tertiary sector. That is, for finance, business has to depend on the bank. Then warehousing, for store the raw materials or the finished goods, they have to depend on warehousing. Then advertising, it is one of the important element for the business, that is advertising. Then communication is another element which has to be support to the business. Then insurance also covers the risk of the business. Then transportation, then we cannot avoid transportation in the business. That is, all these sectors which are very much helpful for the business, that is involved in the tertiary sector. What are the elements in tertiary sector? That is finance, insurance, warehousing, transportation, communication and advertising. 6 elements which are supporting all these activities. These are valuable help for the business, that is in tertiary sector. Now we discuss about only the one classification, that is industry. That is industry we classified into primary, secondary and tertiary. In primary sector again classified into genetic and extractive. Then in secondary sector, manufacturing and construction are the important classification in secondary sector. Then in tertiary, that is in for the business, the various types of elements should be supportive for the business, that is insurance, transportation, communication, finance, warehousing and advertising. Okay. Then another important classification of the business is commerce. Commerce is again classified into internal and external. Okay, internal means within the country, that is internal trade. It is within the country, that is commercial activities taken place within the country. That is again classified for this within the country, where we have to depend on wholesaler and retailer. That is internal trade has to depend on the wholesaler and retail. Without wholesaler and retail, distribution is not possible. That is, production is taken place in somewhere and distribution to various places. For that, wholesaler and retailer are very much helpful for the distribution to the end consumers. That is, in the internal trade, that is classified into wholesaler and retailer. Then another classification is the external trade. External trade means trade outside the country. That is, it is classified into import, export and export. Import means what? That is, we import the goods, that is buying goods from outside to the country, that is to the domestic country. That is, we purchase goods from another country to the domestic country is import. Then export. Export means we sell the goods to foreign countries. That is export. Then third one is interport, which means import the goods from another country, then sell to another country. That is import from one country and again export it to another country's interport trade. These are all commercial activities. That is, in commerce we classified into internal trade and external trade. Internal trade is again classified into that is within the country is taken place this internal trade, that is wholesaler and retailer. Then external trade, import, export and interport. Okay, these are that is industry classified into trade. The trade, that is we now discuss about the classification of trade. Then another one is auxiliaries to trade. Auxiliaries to trade, we already discussed that tertiary sector, that is the auxiliary, that is for the supporting activities for the business. What are the supporting? 6 supporting activities are required for the business. That is finance. Finance means bank, financial institutions provide financial support to the business. Then transportation, warehousing, then insurance, then advertising, then communication. These are all auxiliaries to trade. This will be discussed in another chapter in detail. Now we have discussed that there is a classification of business, that is business classified into 2, industry and commerce. Industry is again classified into 3, primary, secondary, tertiary. In primary sector it is again classified into genetic and extractive. In secondary sector, that is manufacturing and construction. In tertiary sector, that is supportive factors, that is transportation, warehousing, communication, advertising, finance, then communication. These are 6 factors required for the in tertiary sector, that is industry. Then another classification is commerce. Commerce is again divided into trade and auxiliaries to trade. Trade, it is divided into 2, internal trade and external trade. In internal trade, that is wholesaler and retailer. In external trade, import, export and interport. Okay. Then auxiliaries to trade means that is aids to trade. It's also known as aids to trade, which means supportive factors required for the smooth functioning of the business, that it involves finance, warehousing, transportation, communication, advertising and insurance. 6 supportive factors required for the smooth functioning of the business. It is always the sure question, always asked in the question paper in essay level. Okay, you have to thoroughly go through it. Okay, all these are very important topic, but I already repetitively focus about the important topic. We have already discussed about the definition of the business, features of business, classification of business, difference between business, profession and employment. Now we discuss about the classification of business. These are all very important topic in the first chapter. Already discussed, that is aids to trade. All these aids to trade helps to overcome certain hindrances. That is, hindrance of finance is overcome by bank or financial institution. Hindrance of risk is overcome by insurance. Hindrance of knowledge is overcome by advertising. Hindrance of person is overcome by communication. Hindrance of place is overcome by transportation. Hindrance of time is overcome by warehouse. That is always asked about this question, that is hindrances. Okay. Chapter is risk, business risk. We have already said that is risk is the one of the important element in business. There are various types of risk which affect the business, that are natural risk, human risk, economic risk and other risk. Natural risk means flood, earthquake and that type of natural calamities which will affect the business. That is natural risk, that we cannot control that type of risk, only overcome that risk. Then another risk is human risk, that is risk which will be affected by the human person, theft, robbery, that type of risk which will be affected by human beings. That is which will affect the business, that is human risk. Then economic risk means the risk of finance, that will always affect the business, that type of risk. That is, finance is the lifeblood of business, it will affect the business, that is the economic risk. Then other type of risk means political causes, technological causes, that is changes in technology which will also affect the business. These are the risks which affect the business. That is types of risk, that is natural risk, human risk, then economic risk, then other risks which are all affect the business. Business have to overcome all these type of risk, only business will be attain its